let's talk about doing character swaps. Alright, so this doesn't really matter if it's going to be a Lego style game or just any other game where you're able to swap characters, whether you can swap at any point or if you can only swap at specific spots, positions, locations. Those kind of details don't really matter. But for this, I'm just going to go with a menu that I'm popping up. And to do this, I went ahead and just took my character that I use here, this white capsule here, duplicated it twice, so now I've got a green capsule. And notice he does still have his camera, his collisions and everything. So he's got his own camera in that. And then I have another one that I made orange, so we now have an orange guy, a green guy, in addition to our standard white guy here. Now you'll see in 2D there, inside of my canvas layer, my HUD, my UI, whatever you want to call it, I've gone ahead and I decided a grid container and some buttons. Now this doesn't have to be a grid container, of course. It could be a radial menu if that's what you wanted. Don't have to have buttons. You could have maybe previews or pictures of the characters to make it easier to swap. You could just have a vertical list, going with like an item list to go to swap to something. It doesn't matter how you want it to look at the end of the day, because they're all going to function effectively the same. Now, the script that I have on my character swap, I should know I do have a swap button map to it. I just have a Q button set to it. And the only thing I have so far is I have my 3 buttons set up. They're all connected to my character swap script. And taking a look at this script here, I have 3 exports, one for each of my buttons, for each of my character selectors here. And the reason I have those is so I can toggle them for whether they're disabled or not, right? Because you don't want to, it'd be a little weird to select the white guy if you are already the white guy, because then what's the point of doing the swap, right? So we're basically disallowing you to swap to the character you currently are. I'm using an onReady variable that is based purely on the path. All my characters have the same default name of character body 3D, right? All of my selectable characters here. So no matter which one I have selected in the scene, as long as it's in the right order, which should just be a parent of node 3D, right? The root of my scene here. If I click on character, you can see that. So as long as I add it to the right section when I bring the new characters into my scene, that should be fine. Now, of course, you could always change this and set character to whatever your new character is if you wanted to have them to have different names. So it's not a huge deal. And then I'm just using an enum here in order to keep track of which character I have selected, whether I got the white one, the green, or the orange. That way I can always do a quick check in code easily, especially since in my case they're all going to share the same name. Since I have white by default already in the scene, I'm setting the current selection to white, and I'm disabling that button here in my ready. And these 3 button presses, honestly, you could probably just group them all into one function if you really wanted to. But I just left them all separated here, just quick and easy, copy paste, move on. But as an example, you could say keep all your buttons in an array, loop through it and disable all of them, and then set the one on that you wanted. Or you could probably use a match to match whatever current is and go from there. But like I said, I just left the 3 separate functions just to hopefully make it as less confusing as possible. And then my input, I just simply have, if I'm pressing my swap button, then my mouse mode is visible so I can see my mouse. And my character select, or character swap menu here is visible on screen. Else, my mouse is back to being invisible again. and the menu disappears. And where we're at with this, as you can see, we can look around, we can do all this, right? Just like we could, because it's the third person situation. And if I hold my swap button, which for me is Q, you can see white is disabled, and I can click on the others, and that's all functioning perfectly fine. So we're missing two things out of this, and that is to stop movement and looking around and everything that we have here, as well as performing the actual swaps for the characters. Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll add in 3 exports here for my packed scenes, one for each of my selectable characters. Alright, I've gone ahead and added them. So inside my inspector, I can go ahead and select them. So character white, whoops, not a new one. I want to load. That's going to be character 1. Character green will load in character 2, and orange is character 3 scene. Alright, so all my characters are loaded in here. It's a little strange, character 1 doesn't have a preview, but that's fine. Let's see if I can create that real quick. If we just open it up and save it, is that going to give us a preview? There it is. Awesome. Alright, so now we have to create bring our character in. So on our character swap, we can now take a look, and when we press the button, we can go ahead and create an instance. So for example, when the white is pressed, we'll say var CI for character instance. If you really want to, this is a character body 3D, obviously. And this is going to be character white dot instantiate. And we need to, when we add this to the scene, this is going to be added to our 2 parents up in my case, because 1 parent up will be the canvas layer if we just follow that path on the left. And the second parent up is going to be the node 3D, and that's where we want it. So I'm going to go ahead and do the $, do ... /... That'll give us the equivalent of saying get parent twice. You could also go with get root. That'll probably work here as well, because I believe get root will get the root node of this scene specifically. But we can do that and do add child CI. And what we should note is ci.global position should be the same as character.global position. So now if we were to come in here and take a look, green, obviously nothing else, we hit white. Whoa, and we got launched up because of physics. How far up are we going to go? Apparently really far up. So at the moment, just to kind of see that better, I'm also going to adjust this. I'm going to ci.global position.y. Is it plus or minus to go up in 3D? I guess we'll find out. Say minus equals 10. Let's try it that way. We kind of disappeared. So maybe it's more than that. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and set the X position to adjust that, just so we could, you can have a clear vision there. And there it is. So we can see there's the other one there. And of course, we're both moving. Now, obviously, we wouldn't want that to be happening. And for that, of course, we need this character, or our current character, to disappear. So we're going to say character dot queue free, and if you wanted to go with the same names in order to keep the same path, you could. This is where I could go with the CI dot name and give it a specific name if I wanted. But you know what? I think I'm just going to go with character equals CI. All right. And of course, CI dot, we need to get the camera of that. So on all of my characters, from my character here, I don't really have the camera directly. So I'm going to have to go through all of this, and here's our camera. So I'm going to have to get this path here. Type copy path. Hopefully that'll actually just give me what I need here. bi.get node. Yeah, I believe that's it. So I'll put it inside of quotes so we can have that path directly to our camera. Dot current equals true. That way that camera can be activated when we bring it into the scene. And let's take a look and see if that white button is working. And white. All right, so it looks like nothing has changed, but we did have that little jump. So that tells us that this probably worked fine. All right, so if I were to take this and copy this over to my other buttons here and make the adjustments that we need. So instead of character white instance, this is our green character. And this other one, our third one here, is going to be our orange character. So just by making that small rename there, our buttons should work. So green, now we're the green character. And now we're the orange character. Again, we can go back to the white character. All right. So there's how we do the character swaps. If you wanted the character to stop moving, you could easily set their physics process to be false. Right here. So when we're holding our swap button, right, do character dot. Oh, helps if I actually spell character dot process mode. Is it set process false? And then we can enable it again when we're not holding it. And that'll simply stop our character from being able to move around. So if we hold our swap button, you see we can look, but we can't move. But we're using physics process in this case. That's probably why. I am using physics process in my case. So instead of process, I would have to do physics process. There we go. But if you're using process, then you could just use that. And you'll see if I try to move while holding my swap button, I cannot. And as soon as I let go, I can move again. Now, if you don't want that to happen with the camera. All right, so my character, my character is using physics process. You might be using regular process. That completely depends on you. I would suggest physics process for anything that involves physics, like moving around. And my camera, I'm controlling mine. If you remember in the third person controller, I'm controlling that inside of the input function on my character. So we can just use character dot set input, or there you go, set process input, set it to false when we're holding our button, and set it back to true inside of our else block. And now you can see we can look around, move around. As soon as I hit my swap button or hold on to it, I can't move, and the camera doesn't turn with us. Just swap characters. and I let go of the button, and we can move around and look again. And you can see our interacts still work fine. Alright, so there we go. There's everything you need for having your character swaps. Again, the menu that you use doesn't really matter. You can have a grid at the bottom, you can have a radial menu, you can have a listed menu. It doesn't really matter. I'm just using buttons here for an example. The actual look is completely up to you. The functionality is the important part. And that functionality effectively is this block here. To basically remove our previous character and instance in our new one. Alright, take care, have yourselves a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Also, if you're curious about the errors down here, this is basically just telling us that we're trying to access things like global position before it's actually inside of the tree. So if we just move that from being up here to after we've added it as a child, that should get rid of the 3 errors here, and that's 1 error for each of our button presses. So if I do it now, I should get rid of it. And there you go. So if you're concerned about that error, even though it doesn't affect anything, right? That's all you have to do. It's really not a huge deal. And you can see when we're doing it now, that doesn't really affect or work because we keep getting reset all the way over there. So we actually need to, and that's because our character is already being reset, right? So we're being set at 0, 0. So we would actually need to store this position. So as an example, var op for old position, right, equals character dot global position before we free it and set it. And now when we set it, so if we just set the position to our variable op, and we've set that on the green character, so you'll notice it when we go ahead and run it here, that orange is going to reset us back over there at the 0, 0. Whereas if we go to our green with that new variable, we should spawn right here where we're at. Alright. And if you want, you could keep track of the rotation as well. So you can just come down and before queuing free, store that. Put that as OP. And we'll do the same thing up here. Alright. So there you go. That'll now work for all the characters. So if those errors were concerning you a bit, you can see now they have gone away. Alright, so there you go. Alright, see you guys next time.